Welcome to Pathworking, the Tree of Life with the Alchemical Cabala. This week, we enter the path of Baith, the magician. The letter Baith in Hebrew means house. It is the dwelling place of your awareness, specifically your self-consciousness. Notice how your pure, simple, self-conscious awareness is as pure and clear right now as it was at any point that you can recall throughout your life. It's identically pure. So on the tree of life, this path, it connects the primal will or the crown of the tree, which we know as Keter, to the sphere of Bina, or understanding. Standing under. And on the simple tree, it connects the divine self to the divine mind. So think about that for a moment. This path of Baith, the magician. On the simple tree of life, the magician key, what it is, and the path of Baith, it connects the divine self to the divine mind. Right. Who remembers this formula? These are the first two letters of the Aleph Baith, right? We'll come back to this. So first, center, take a few deep breaths and relax. Okay, great. Relax, taking deep abdominal breaths. I want you to now close your eyes. And I want you to imagine, in your inner vision, I want you to see the brightest white light you can think of or imagine above your head right now. As you breathe it in and out, right up above your head. Breathe that light deep in, deep into your core. Feel its heat right above your head. As you exhale, see that light return back to the crown right above your head. See it getting brighter and brighter and brighter with each inhalation and exhalation. In and out. In and out. Okay. Keep relaxed breathing. Know that light above you. Now know that that light is spinning immensely fast, just above your head. The light's so bright, it floods down into your entire being. When you're ready, relaxed, please gently open your eyes. Unmute yourselves one at a time and simply just share what occurs to you, what speaks to you on our key for this week, the magician.
There's actually something I just hadn't really noticed till now. It looks like a scepter, but the is that a because he's holding what? Yeah, on the table. Yeah, that the shape of that. Just looking at that, looks like that tatva. Well, two things. One, that
Perfect. Yep.
yeah, that the tattva of spirit, but on top of that too, that
Mhm.
double. I keep looking at that as like a that circle that's cut out 90 degrees, and so it's kind of there, just kind of
Yeah.
showing the ascension up. That was found on the center of the chest of the high priestess. I see
Yep.
that there,
Right.
along with again the shape of the tattva. And then when I think of that, I just think of like a yod. And but it's interesting
Yeah.
how it's uh the color yellow, and for some reason I'm thinking like, oh, it'd be more of like a color white, but that's interesting. It's yellow for that, but just and then I guess right below that, I look that circle thing looks like a sun, soul type of thing, but
Yeah.
that's more than I'm. Yeah,
That's a
I'll stop there.
great, great pickup. Easy. Excellent pickup. Yes, that is the tattva of spirit, and the solar symbol of the sun. No small thing.
So are we adding in like observations right now?
Yes, please. Whatever's occurring to you now in this key.
Well, the magician is the transmuter of all of the elements. The roses being all over it, symbolizing the full blossoming of the person, actualizing in itself. The lilies opening, it's us coming up from our space into our divinity. Uh, the table has the four elements. Like that first with the like the scepter is the wand, which represents fire with the yellow. Um, the chalice for the water, for the cups, the sword for air, the clearing and cutting, the coin for money, for earth, for grounding. It's and the magician represents the actualization of all those parts. The wings on his hat or his headband,
Hmm.
representing him connecting with divinity and mastering divinity to tell it kind of what's happening.
Hmm.
The infinity sign above its head, obviously representing a direct source that the magician is able to access and deal through. Um, the deck that I work with usually is the Thoth Tarot, and
Hmm.
in that one, uh, they have three different cards for the Magus in one of the special decks that they had originally set up for it, and each one is a different evolution of the Magus or the Magician.
Hmm.
So this one kind of embodies all of it. So from coming from the becoming of self, putting on the robes, donning the robes, becoming that vessel for it, to the full transformation where you master the elements. They master all those pieces to become spirit.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian.
Sure.
I never noticed he had white hair before.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of black and white, right? But yeah, interesting. And of course, he connects the white and black spheres on the tree.
The bringing of heaven into earth,
Mm.
um, with the wand up, and then
Mhm.
his hand pointing down, as above, so below, and his white robes signifying, the divine self, God, holiness is just so strong in this, but bringing it down to the earth level, and the eternity symbol above the head.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a couple things.
Excellent. Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, the
Um,
analemma. Love it.
I noticed that like the lilies,
Uh-huh.
like rebirth, renewal,
Mhm.
and uh and the snake around its waist.
Mhm.
I mean, is that like transmutation or something?
Okay. Okay. It's a good question. What do you think?
Um, uh, or is, I don't know.
There's no wrong answers here. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean,
I know people say that, but there's really not.
like he can transmute anything.
Yes, yes, absolutely he can. And you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just say this about that symbol. Typically the serpent, in the in the mystery traditions is a symbol for wisdom. And when we see the serpent biting its tail, have you ever seen that symbol before?
No.
So it's
Called the
pretty
Ouroboros.
old. Yes, it's
The
called the
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros. That is correct. It's a very old symbol. And in essence, one way of looking at it is that everything that we perceive is simply a a different presentation of everything that was already before. So life feeds upon itself in endless adaptations. So the snake is like eating its own tail. Okay. And that's life. There's nothing but life. That's it. That's all there is. What is all that was, and what will be is all that is. So one of the names, one of the formulas in the Western tradition is it's called the Tetragrammaton. You heard it as the Yod He Wav He, or Jehovah in modern terms, or Yahweh. You've heard of that before, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the English transliterations of that is all that was, all that is, and all that ever will be. There is a part of you that has always been, that is now, and that will be forever. In the tradition, we call this the self, where you see the symbol of the serpent is an activation of wisdom. And in our color tradition of this system, the color green is the color of love. But whenever we have a question about anything in the keys themselves, we can read all we want. That's fine. You should read all the things to your heart's desire. But where the real wisdom comes in for us is when we take this core practice that if you will do it and hold this image inside in your inner vision and focus on the imagery of that snake with its tail in its mouth around the waist of the magician. You hold that in your inner vision as you're going to sleep long enough. Then that self that you are, that always has been, that is, and that will always be, brings forth wisdom from your own subconscious and raises it to your self-conscious mind. And it gives you an experience and a gnosis of, and a transmission of wisdom that cannot be received otherwise. And this is sometimes what we mean by in Kabbalah, which means the reception or to receive. It is that which cannot be taught, but it can be received. Okay. Anything else or anyone else?
I'd like to say something briefly.
Please do.
Yeah, so I feel like this card is saying thy will be done.
Mm.
With the hand pointed upward, it's like he's getting the download.
Right. Right.
And then he's processing that download, and then he's commanding and doing his commands, you know, so that thy will be done. And I feel like it's almost our civic duty, almost in a way, to God.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
to hear the download, to and then to process it within
Yeah.
our own mind and
Yeah.
say, okay, what am I being guided to do here?
Mm-hmm.
And then take that download and then create that download in the world. And so that's what this card, when I look at this card, I feel like, you know, it's like we have to listen to that, you know, to that divine mind to pick up that download, and then have the courage to create with that, with what we're given.
That is brilliant. I love it. Thank you, Christina. You always have the best expressions. So thank you. And I particularly love the part where you just said have the courage then to allow it. And as you know, on the 3x7 layout, the strength key falls right below the magician key.
Yeah. I feel like you know, I think we get downloads all the time, and then we don't act on those downloads. And you can just, you can hear it. You know, I was getting a download this morning. I was vacuuming, and so I'm vacuuming, and then I had to stop like 5 times to write something down because I was being guided to do something. So I'm like, oh, can you let me vacuum, please? And I'm just writing it down. But you know, and then I had to act on it. So that's what this card says to me.
That's awesome. Thank you. Did you want to say something? Easy?
Yes. Oh,
The
just one
red,
briefly. And actually, yeah, Susan, you go ahead and first. I'll remember what I'll say. So
oh,
you go
just
first.
the red,
Please.
the red robe is the action. I mean, he has to have the red robe on to act, I think, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is one of the more interesting keys as far as the dress of the character, right? Because there's not a lot being worn here, but it's like the purity of the white robe and the fire and passion of the red.
Strength.
Just, oh, yes.
Yes, strength, exactly.
Just wanted a quick note on that. And actually, speaking of this, the robe, it's amazing how it's so like flowy and there's so much movement in that robe. Because there's other cards where they've had robes, but they're very
I
just,
like that too. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So it's it gives a lot of creation to it. But you know, as Christina was sharing, and both as Susan and Brian had pointed out, just with those little extra wonderful notes of the activity, you know, that is there. It reminded me of, and I forget the author's name, but she wrote like Eat, Pray, Love, and she was doing a TED talk and talking about, I think it's like some artists from the 70s, just like musicians. They talk about just waiting for that inspiration, just, they create this space for the muse and just that inspiration, just that taking in. Because I was looking at this card, and as Christina was elaborating on this here, it's that channeling of that inspiration to, that form. And it's like, and the tools are the tools that Brian was pointing out earlier. You have the cup, the sword, the coin, and the wand. And just it's that thing of the willingness to, and the courage to act on that inspiration with those tools there. And it's like, oh, this is an artist. It's like that the word that comes up is artist, because it's like that's,
I love it.
it's just, it
Love it.
comes from
Yes,
there. And
absolutely.
yeah, because it's the creative. I mean, I know, I mean, that just like Rick Rubin's book, the creative way, or whatever. I mean, it's very just that tapping into intuition. And then, because it's like you can't really dictate it. It's more of a receiving, it's a reception, it's an openness to
Hmm.
that inspiration, intuition, and then acting on that. And he elaborates very beautifully on that, and you see where he's at now with it. But yeah, it's just that thing of just kind of like releasing. And in the last bit I'll say, it was, and I forget, I don't think it was an Arthur C. Clarke. It was one of those writers who wrote on a typewriter, and was speaking on how you have to write to where you're not even thinking about writing. It's just let your fingers type, let your fingers go, and just kind of releasing and becoming
Yeah.
more of the typewriter. And then just from that, yeah, and then just seeing what comes out.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all this stuff. The whole card to me is just like art. So I'll stop there. But thank you.
You're on point. Absolutely.
Okay, I wanted to say one more, if it's okay.
Yes, please.
I didn't think about it, and then Easy, you just kind of brought it up in my mind as you were talking about it. Like I was going to just say that, with the arm, one arm being up, one arm being down, one up for above, one so below, showing that balance immediately, but also the aspect of the arms being, and the one arm being kind of crooked, showing like the lightning bolt aspect. I don't know if you've talked about that, about going through the Cabala. As you race through the Cabala, it will make the lightning bolt in both directions. And that's the aspect of bringing things from divinity into reality. The
Lovely.
manifestation from that.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be represented with that curve too. Taking the wand, which is the divine fire with the divine light at the top, channeling it through the body, through into the physical.
Yeah.
What else was I going to say? The hands pointed in the way is the showing the direction, and like where the energy is coming from to create in the now, that center point. Yeah, awesome.
Very awesome. Thank you, Brian.
He's,
Who else?
He's the self-conscious. He's focusing inward. He's looking inward, but he's also discerning. He's keeping out so that he can focus. And there's only so much you can pay attention to at one time. And so he's going inward to bring down.
That is a
heaven
excellent, on point, Victoria. Thank you. Yes, that is exactly right. This is the self-conscious mind in the tarot, and he is looking inward, which is above, right? It's towards source.
I'll share
From what I
something.
see, he has not yet picked up the implements, the tools. So this is his workbench, and these are the tools. And he's at the point of mind. So he demonstrates that before he creates, it must be in mind first. So we function from mind. And he's before creation, the tools are ready, earth, fire, air, but it's not picked up yet.
But they have to be used first to be able to get to that space. So that's why they're on the table, because they're grounded in the physical. Like the
Yeah, but he's not at the physical. The card is he's not at the physical yet. He hasn't picked them up. So he's at the point of mind.
He has that agency, right? Because he's mastered the lower parts of self to like be the conduit and have his hand in both worlds, physical and the spiritual.
Yes, but the card does not express the point of manifestation. It is right before.
Right.
Mm.
I hear that.
Interesting. I
And
find
you
it
have
interesting.
12 roses.
Ah,
You have 12 roses.
mhm.
12 is a completion number for the heart.
Yeah,
The heart center and the lower heart center.
and for our solar system. For
So
our,
nice.
yeah, 12 is the signs of the zodiac, which
Yeah.
are the points of manifestation of our personalities. So he's at the point of mind, which puts him perfectly between the divine self and the divine mind. But
And that's why
it's
the
not-
fool is 13. Sorry,
It-
I'm sorry.
it's not moving yet.
Hmm.
And it's something we have to understand, that so every thought we have is at the point of creating. That's why we practice concentration and practice being quiet.
It's a great point, Margot. The essence of this key is concentration.
To be still and know that I am God. And then we move out because we are the agency, the word. It's not about the creation, it's about that point in between, before. And then we, of course, have the next cards, 3 and 4. So we must be duly diligent about where our mind is as to what we create. And we never change. That's the snake around his waist. It's like creation, the white color, purity, the creator expressing through love, which rings us. Because remember, the snake is a ring, it's a circle, another symbol of God.
Hmm.
And about to express. So you're about to express. So how are you going to express? Are you going to express through love? And 7 lilies.
Completion.
Wonderful numbers.
Yes, a beautiful key.
Pre-manifestation.
I
Has
love
any
how,
At the going into the causal plane.
yes, absolutely going into the causal plane
Yeah.
from the crown. I
Uh-huh.
love how only half the table's showing here.
Mm-hmm. All you see is not all there is.
Thank you, Margot. Definitely took that to a very nice place. Thank you.
It's all that I'm getting. All the cards have responsibility except the Fool.
Mm,
This is the initiation of responsibility, where you place your thoughts.
absolutely.
You
And
surround, are you cloaked in this passion, but you have that snake in green working from the self.
Things yet to be revealed,
Yeah, but
Mm.
responsibility begins right at this point.
brought into
Every tarot
manifestation.
card has responsibility written all over it.
oh yeah. And I love you said begins and initiates, because this is the first key. It's the key number 1, right? And so it is the key of beginnings, the key of initiation.
the key of alchemy? It's
Mm,
bringing heaven to earth.
mhm,
And with the tools,
Mhm.
tools are on the table, ready to be used with
mm,
the red robe of action that will
mhm,
bring it down.
mm. Very nice.
And all the flowers are surrounded by green.
Through love.
Yeah. Keep your eyes single and it'll all work out.
The
Hmm.
roses represent love.
Yeah. Keep your eyes single, and no matter what's thrown at you, it will work out.
Mm,
One of the, can I share for a second? The table is kind of like life, being wood, being that
Mhm.
element of bringing together of self. In some of the work that I've done with the Enochian stuff, um, that first step to go out of self engages you with all the four elements. So it's kind of like using that table as self, and then using those other tools to actualize yourself and become the magus and step over and like literally let go of the physical reality to be at that point of manifestation where it is nothing's happened yet, but we are in that state of becoming and being the conduit, there's different ways to another way to think about it.
Yeah. As we say, the word made manifest. We are the word.
Yep.
Very nice card.
mm. Excellent.
The rose is also one of the highest vibrational frequencies of a flower, like when they make essential oil, things like that. That's why it's such
Mm,
a pungent, powerful smell.
mm,
And it's the actualization, like one of the highest forms. That's why like the beauty of a rose is something that we like covet in some weird ways,
Interesting.
I'll just say real briefly that the other thing that comes up with this is through this exploration, just the flow state, just this whole, again, just that
Yep.
release of
Yep.
the boundary between what you're doing and your
Mm-hmm.
action and intention all becomes one. And you're just, I mean, it's
Yep.
very extensively in like sports psychology and all that. And you hear those top folks when they get in the zone, and it's
Mhm.
just and a word I jotted down just with this discussion was just coming up, just the effortless recognition, effortless,
Mhm.
because it's just more of, there's not a thinking element to it. It's the
Mm, mm.
again, the receipt, and that's
Yeah.
just how it goes there. It's always, the joke is just like, the mind can only go so far, and afterwards, like, okay, this is
Yeah.
beyond this. It's not gonna, you got to go further, but got to let you go here. But the thing is that aspect of just that effortless recognition, again, that whole thing of, you look at 2 + 2 and you can't help but think four. It's like, oh, it's there, it's just
Mm.
recognized right there. And just that kind of flow. So just thinking about that, and that whatever action, whatever's immersed in, and you're going into that that flow state, that effortless state that's there. So I'll stop sharing at that point.
You. Is there anyone else that has anything they wish to bring forth?
I just wanted to elaborate on it a little bit. A few people said conduit, which I really like because it really gives you an image of the flow of the whole picture, the whole
Yep.
thing. So you get the impression that the magician has the image of the whole thing in mind, in like the law itself, the whatever, the will, the law, the
Mhm.
image
Mhm.
is there in mind.
Mhm.
And in fact, the magician is that image
Mhm.
also, which is interesting. But it the fact that he's surrounded by this yellow, which we associate with the sun, it seems like being the key of Beth, 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 or Beth, the container or the house, the temple. Um, you wonder what is this? What is this? He's contained within in the key.
Right.
It
What is it?
seems like he is deep within the sun.
Yes.
You know,
So yellow
immersed
in our
within the
system,
sun.
that is correct. And yellow within our system is the superconscious.
And so you get this image of the sun acting, being the actor or the executor of the will. You know,
Yeah, nice.
primary expression or the center of
Right.
expression.
Doesn't yellow represent clarity too?
Yeah, right. Clarity. Yeah. So you're correct, Jesse. Excellent points. Easy brought up on the wand, on the table, we see the tattva of spirit, and just below it, we see the element of the golden symbol for the sun. And we know that one pointedness, like Margot said, you know, keeping our eye single. And what's the symbol for the sun?
And
Isn't that
isn't
the circuit there? Sorry.
It's okay. Isn't that the symbol on his headband, the sun over the third eye? What is on his headband? Isn't that the right on his third eye, right?
Yeah.
Which would be bringing the light into
This is the winged sun, right?
all manifestation.
The winged sun, right? Yeah. And we also know that the sun makes the analemma above the head over the course of a year in the sky.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice.
Which is like, the whole thing is ultimately about the receptivity, really.
Yep, I think that's well said, Jesse. That's it. It's being receptive and focused at the same time. It's the union of the masculine and the feminine, right? So we're going to talk. Anyone else have anything to share before we go forwards?
Yeah, and the foundation is knowing.
I love it.
Receptive.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're at a point of knowing. You don't figure things out at this place.
Knowing the law, especially.
But you know the things, right?
Yeah, you know them viscerally. It's an experience you've had that so you don't. It's not a mental thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like recognizing all his mind at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I would have noticed, I don't know if anybody caught this, was like the going out of the lines, like the actual magician, like the person himself, like or their self is like their cloth, which is earth, you know, and all those representations, like and like the material physical reality, like of like Malkuth, you know, that they're wearing, like flowing out of the line, the normal rectangular line of the card itself.
Right.
And then like the arm having the power to go beyond the limits of physical reality and that line box, using the wand from divinity to bring it all in.
What a great pickup.
Yeah, that was cool.
Thank you for sharing.
Acknowledge that we're sitting here together.
Thank you. That's an excellent pickup. Okay. So, thank you, very much. Brilliant insights.
Don't be afraid to go outside the lines.
I love it. Yes, do not be afraid to go outside the lines. So, all right.
I have one last thing to say.
Yes.
Sorry. It just kept going on and on because we kept talking about bringing heaven to earth. And I just kept thinking to myself, how am I bringing heaven to earth? How am I bringing heaven to earth? And The only thing that came to me was bringing the love of God through the experience of me.
Aw,
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to share that.
thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Thank you.
so important. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Teresa. You know, that stresses to me the real essence and the importance of it. It reminds me of the saying from Paul, I can know all the things. You can have all the woo knowledge about speak the tongues of angels, but if I don't have love, I don't have anything. It's true. Margot does a really good job of helping remind us
Yeah.
of the importance here of maintaining that perspective.
Self-love.
Yes. And we're talking about real love here, not, you know, not the things. But we all know this here. Okay. So moving forwards, some things. So first, this key, the magician key in the Western system is the key of the crown chakra. It is that white crown of Keter on the just above the head, that spinning energy center. So continued work with this key, especially with the core practice, it will activate your crown chakra into more activity. Just so you know. Magic, you know, has the word mage in it, right? It has to do with imagery. One expression of this term we call magic is that magic is the life that flows through you into what we call this world. You open your mind and vehicles to the source of the all through your breath, which is key 0 in the superconscious, and use the self-consciousness, as Victoria brought up, which is this key, which is simply our sustained focus and attention. So we combine breath with sustained attention. We open with courage and allow the super consciousness to flow through us and express itself as it will. It is that simple. This is an art. Easy brought this up. He's really good at intuiting a lot of these things beforehand. But this is not just an art, this is the art. And the beauty of the tarot is that simply focusing on the keys themselves initiates their intelligences to become activated within us. This is why the tarot is sometimes called the yoga of the West. Now, back to this formula here. So I'm going to ask the group again, does anyone remember what this formula is the formula or name for?
It's the Father.
Perfect. Thank you, Victoria. Yes. These are the first 2 keys of the whole major arcana and the first 2 letters of the whole Hebrew Aleph Bet. They form the word Ab or Father in Hebrew. this is a formula. To be more effective in our work of bringing heaven to earth and being clear channels for that, conduits, we have to master some degree of focus and attention. Fortunately for us, the magician key assists us to do just that. It teaches us how to concentrate and connect to the superconscious and what happens when we do.
We become the mega.
Yes, right. So Margot, some of you may recall, if you're not, you can find it on her website, gates-of-light.com. She has a wonderful, wonderful course on the astrological symbols. And the astrological and the alchemical symbol for Mercury is interesting because it's the only one that has all three. Is that correct, Margot?
What'd you say, Brian? We become the maker?
She said
The mega.
Magus.
Oh, the magus?
But to go to your question, if it's okay, it has the sun, the moon, and what else is in it? I forget.
Across the elements.
Yeah, so this it's also the Mercury symbol is also a major, like Hermes is also representative of the magician, and so
Yep.
and the cross being the rosy cross,
Yep.
bringing the self up and
Yep.
merging the now and the here and rising above it to attain the full body of self and be able to access Keter and the highest self.
Beautifully said, Brian. Thank you. So
Yeah,
this is
Yeah,
Go ahead.
the exaltation of this symbol for the feminine, which is the moon,
yes,
and
up here, right?
and it symbolizes, and it symbolizes super consciousness, as he said.
It does. I love you. I love this symbol. And I'll just share with everyone. Most people here know this, but for anyone watching that may not, we really only come to really understand or connect and know what these things really are by focusing intently on them with our inner vision. That's why the keys are called keys. It's the same for the symbols. I was thinking about this symbol today, not just how it exalts the moon and the feminine and the rise of the feminine now, but how another way of looking at Hermes, Mercury here is if you took the moon off of it, you see Venus, right? You see Venus, which is amazing. And so hold on a second here, see if I can move. Someone's trying to get in. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, so you see Venus exalting the moon, you have nothing but the receptivity of love. That's pretty profound for super consciousness. And anyway, this symbol shows basically the same thing that we see in the magician key. We see the receptivity and the focus. This is the art of Cabala. It is the art to be receptive and focused at the same time. How do we do this? Well, we do it by doing it, but focusing on the core practice of the key is it's like a algorithm that the subconscious takes and is like, oh, this is what you want, okay. And so we train the subconscious, and then the subconscious brings it forth. The feminine is exalted and brings forth the wisdom of the self within you, through you. This is how we grow, learn, and bring heaven into earth. One great teacher from the Holy Order of Mans, I will say, would say, if you want to really bring heaven to earth, start living in heaven. That comes to me on occasion. So I thank them very much for all of their help. All right. So after sufficient attention and focus is maintained in one area, like with your core practice, like the keys, what happens is the Ein Sof Or, the limitless light, begins to condense itself from the eternal to a point. This is Keter. The limitless begins to impose a temporary self-limitation of itself, and then it flows through you. And we first sense it here at the crown chakra at this level of our being, since we're incarnated all the way down to Malkut. Lucky us. So when we plug in to this limitless light and make that conduit, it's like the positive and negative connect, and we make that lightning connection that Brian was talking about. So this only comes through practice. We don't figure it out, like Margot said. If it were like that simple, everyone would do this consciously or have this skill and be artists in this way. Although everyone is, most people do this completely unconsciously. But if you want to know what the will really is, you have to let it flow through you like electricity. So this week in your core practice, put your full intention and focus on the magician key each night before you go to bed. First with your physical vision, 5 minutes. And as you're holding it on your inner vision, right before going to sleep, I want you to do a couple of things. You're going to have 2 intentions this week. One is you're going to have the intention to allow the flow of the superconscious, the limitless light to flow through you. Have the courage and intention to just let it come. Just let it come. This key will bring you into the alignment to allow you to be that receptive and focused. And also, an interesting point for you to consider is the more serious you give this work, the more attention you get from those who help us on the other side. Because when you're working with this kind of stuff, it gets their attention. And then you get more help. So also each night for your core practice, I would like you to start our work that's coming up here soon, that you are going to have a lucid dream. you are going to have an experience of being self-conscious, which is this key, at some point in your dreams this week, every night. State that intention with conviction and will. Thank you for your light and your participation. This concludes our outer class on Path of Faith, the Magician, and the floor is now open for any questions or comments.
Thanks, Eli,
Thank you.
everyone, Margot, Brian, Maureen,
Thank you. Let
yeah,
me
Rachel,
stop this
Teresa,
recording.
Victoria.